Much.
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started today. Thank you for joining. My name's Frank. I work with Remax LLC. I will be talking about the first app. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly pull up some slides. Full disclosure, I don't love slides. So I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. And then more importantly, I'm actually going to hop on the app itself, the first app itself, and we'll live drive that. So maximize your networking potential with First. Again, like I said, my name is Frank Falone, work with Remax LLC, specifically on the First app. Brief agenda, discover First and the impact it can make to your current sphere, incorporate it into your business strategy, and then explore the 5 steps to success with First. So to begin with, what is First? This is a nice, long, lengthy slide that I don't like to read out, so I won't. Really what it is it's an app that you download on your phone. It syncs to your contact list, and then it alerts you to who's most likely to list in the next 6 to 12 months using AI and an algorithm to figure that out for you. First is also a Remax exclusive. So it was purchased in 2019 by Remax. The original designers saw a couple challenges. The first challenge was the leads challenge. So realtors spend $14 billion on leads every year, but most people still choose their agent via a relational connection, right? Via somebody that they know. So they kind of thought, why can't we go backwards? Why can't the agent look through their phone and pick a client that way? So that's kind of where this idea came from. Plus, that's a lot of money to spend on leads and not always get great results. The second challenge that they saw was this, the referral challenge. If you were at R4, Nick shared this statistic. His numbers were actually a little bit higher, but regardless, it's still kind of the same premise, which is 88% of home buyers said that they would use the same agent for their next home. And then the reality is 12% actually did. That's a pretty large discrepancy. I think part of it is they get the survey kind of at the end, right after close or something like that. They'd say yes to anything. They're super happy at that point. But if you take this stat a step further, in 5 years, they may not even remember that agent's name. So that's kind of what we're up against. And then this little meme here, the feeling when you drive past your neighbor's house and see some other agent sign. Yeah, there's an app for that. Like if there's an app for everything, then there's certainly an app for this. And then the last challenge that they saw is the network challenge. So I think as agents, you're just asked to do so much. Know and have thousands of contacts, right? You don't necessarily have enough time to remain in touch with everyone. And then by the time you do need to be back in touch with them, like when they actually need your services again, it could be 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 7 to 10 years down the line, right? So what the solution is, at least obviously we believe, is first, you're using the app in your daily routine to kind of stay top of mind with your sphere. Now, quickly by the numbers, 33,000 is the number of listings that First identified for Remax agents in 2020. Sounds great, nice big number. To make it more personal to you, 8 is the average number of listings an agent wins in their first 3 months using First. And I'll go ahead and say the word using again, because if you download the app and it sits on your phone, it will not magic up 8 listings out of thin air. It is a targeted outreach program. That's kind of the best way I can use to describe it. It takes a lot of contacts, narrows down who you should reach out to, but still requires the agent to do that outreach. The other statistic that we see, Remax agents who use First are 50% more productive on average than those who don't. So whatever way you want to look at it, 8 listings in 3 months, 50% more productive. We know that by using the app, we can see some results. And then especially right now with the low inventory, and that's what we keep hearing, the app can be especially useful because it's going through your sphere to find likely sellers in your network. So 5 steps to success with First. First and foremost is download the app. Next slide will show you how to do that. It will automatically add people to the app for you if you want to do it that way. You can connect with your sphere. It'll give you the ability to do that. So you can reach out to people through the app. And then importantly, you can set what's called next steps. They're just like reminders for where you are with that person in the conversation, so you can keep following up. So you can actually have that ability to let the app do some of the work for you in terms of that follow-up. So step one, download the app. A couple easy ways. First and foremost, go to this website, www.first.io. You will need your Remax email and password that you use to get into Mac Center. So sometimes I say it's easier just to get into Mac Center first, then go ahead and click the repeat and referral business tile, or search for First, and that will come up and it'll walk you through there. You can just search for it directly in your app store. I like to say search for First by Remax. It comes up a little bit faster than First.io. And then it is free for 60 days. So if you've never downloaded it before, it's free for 60 days. And then it is $465 a year after that. I like to say a year again, because somebody once heard me say $465 a month. And that's a pretty big difference. So it's $465 a year, a little less than $40 a month. Obviously, the goal would be to get a listing in those first 2 months, kind of have it pay for itself a couple times over. I'm going to stop this share quickly and pull up. The next slide is really, it's about the data, but I just wanted to use kind of somebody in your office's data, if that's okay, because I just think it makes more sense if you're looking at something real. Lindsay, is Stephen Meyer in your office? Is that somebody? No?
No.
Connections, California. Okay. Let me see. Dennis Smith.
Yep. Dennis Smith is in our office. He's not on the call though.
All right. Not showing anything bad. Just numbers. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up real fast. So this is what I say when I say targeted outreach. This is actually a really good example. So he uploaded almost 20,000 contacts. That is a lot of contacts. On average, it's like 1,200. But still, if I got on here today and was going to say, hey, let's call 19,850 people, you could just slap me in the face, right? Like, that is silly, and we're not going to do that. So what did it do? It starts doing some cleanup on its own. So it removed junk contacts. It removed over 6,000 duplicates that it found. It removed over 1,300 realtors that it found, right? And it left them with, you know, a little over 10,000 contacts that it now starts to want to work with. From there, importantly, it pulls in, you know, it pulled in over 5,000 addresses. Because if you're like me, and we're just talking phone at least, like you just heard, I have first name, maybe last name, maybe how I know the person, right? A telephone number. I certainly don't have first name, last name, telephone number, full like written out address and everything like that. So the app will actually work to pull in any information that it can find. It'll also pull in Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter profiles if it can find it. It can't always find it, or Facebook doesn't always allow it to be pulled in. So you can add those in manually as well. From there, it's going to start scoring those contacts. And what that means is it runs the information that it can find. It's about 700 public data points through its AI and through an algorithm. Some of those data points can be equity in the home, how long they've been there, size of the house. It could be something like, you know, life events, marriage, divorce, kids, internet searches, what are they looking for? And then it can also be something as like that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but it could be like a school zone got redistricted. They have 2 kids. We know that that might mean that they're moving. So it takes all of these data points and meshes them together to get this star rating. And very, very technically, the way that the AI works and the algorithm works is it actually scores the entire US population and then gives the star rating. So you can say a 3-star is 90% more likely to list than your average US homeowner, a 2-star is around 85, and a 1-star is around 75. Now, let's be realistic. In this case, right, he uploaded almost 20,000 contacts and it spit them out 3,661. That's what I mean by targeted outreach. Instead of trying to talk to this large number, let's talk to this smaller number, right? But from there, if I gave you 3,000 leads, which would be amazing, right? But if I gave you 3,000 leads, would all of them be perfect? Like, no, right? Like that's the reality. Same thing here. Nothing's perfect. I once had a guy come up to me and he goes, my deceased grandfather is a 3-star contact. And I went, okay, I'm really sorry to hear that. Can you tell me a little bit more? And he goes, yeah, he's been living with me for the past 2 years. And I go, okay, well, if we put 2 and 2 together here, you're a real estate agent, all the internet stuff that you do has to do with real estate. His name got associated with that because he's been in your house for 2 years. You tricked the algorithm, right? Like that's why it came up. So I think you'll end up deleting, I don't know, a fair number of these. It could be a realtor that slipped through. It could be friends and family that you would just never talk to through the app. But I think it's important to note that just because one thing doesn't make sense doesn't mean, you know, the next 3,000 of these contacts are all bad. It just means that one didn't make sense. Right. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the app. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot them out as I pull up the app. And I'll actually, like I said, do the live drive and show you kind of what we're really talking about here. Cool. Come on. All right. That is the dog I adopted during COVID, so I would have came up for that. All right, so I went ahead and pulled up the app here. I think this is what happens, or can happen, I should say, is tech in general right now. I think a lot of tech gets thrown out at you, and that can be overwhelming. And then one individual piece of tech can also just be overwhelming. So I think what happens is you open up this app, you see this, and you go, I don't know where to start, right? And then what's happened in the past is you got these daily recommendations. I look at the daily recommendations as kind of like a kick in the butt, but it's not the app. So, and you can skip them. So I've had people become like really frustrated with this because they can repeat if you do nothing else in the app. So again, I think kind of like if you want to start there, sure, but really what you're going to do is scroll past all this and come into here and not be scared by how big this number is. You're just going to open it up. And in here, this is where we're going to do what I call 5 and 5, which is you're going to delete 5 contacts that don't make sense. And the reason for that is a lot of people stumbled at this hurdle, which is I would never talk to that person. Rick, like you said before we started today, I'm not brave enough to talk to that person, right? Or like whatever it is. So if you're never going to reach out to somebody through the app, click on them, scroll down to the bottom, click delete. Really simple. Don't like let it clutter your data here. Just delete them and move on. And then the next step is going to be to do that 5 outreach. And what that means is you're going to click on one of these people and you're going to say something. And the question I always get is, what the hell do I say, right? Like I haven't talked to Kenneth here in 3 years. What am I going to say? And I think a lot depends on how you know the person, but also a lot just depends on starting with a simple icebreaker, right? One of the scripts that we've worked out that I've been using with agents is we call it sincere apology, which is something that goes along the lines of, hey, Kenneth, I know we haven't talked in a while. Would love to hear how you're doing. Got any time to catch up this week? ? Right? Like whatever way that you can break the ice with that person. The reason that I think the sincere apology works is, I don't know about you, if you've ever been too embarrassed to like talk to somebody because it's almost like too much time has gone by, right? So by saying, hey, listen, I know it's been a long time, or like, I'm sorry, I haven't reached out in a while, or whatever, you're kind of taking that embarrassment off of their plate and just inviting them to respond to you. I did a workshop with an office the other day. She was like, oh, this is easy. I get it now. It's just ask open-ended questions. And I was like, exactly. Ask open-ended questions, whatever it is that's going to elicit a response. So with Kenneth here, I got my call, text, or email button, which is blue. I can click text, and I'm going to text directly from my phone. It's not a randomly generated number. It is directly from my phone, which means it's coming from me. Again, you can say anything in here. I set a keyboard shortcut. So this is actually a text or a template that we were using. I always say add the name or just make it as personal as you can. Right, so like, hi Kenneth, I was in your neighborhood last week doing a showing and it made me think of you. Your area is really hot right now. Do you have any time to catch up? Right, maybe this is for somebody that you haven't, maybe it's been more recent than 3 years or 2 years or something like that. That might work. again, it's about just getting something to get the conversation going. Because we know on average, it takes around 6 contact attempts for somebody to reach back to you if you haven't talked to them in a while. So I'm going to click this First by Remax up top, brings me back into the app. This blue button, Set Next Step, is the best practice for people that are actively using the app and seeing results. This is kind of what they swear by, which is that ability to set next step. So what I always say is always hit the blue button. Just don't skip it. So I'm going to click Set Next Step. And what that means is now I can decide how I want to reach out to this person again. And what I mean by that is I can say, all right, cool. Do I want to call them, text them, email them? Do I want to try to meet them in person? Let's say that I sent a text to this guy and hasn't responded yet. All right, cool, no worries. I'm going to set a next step for maybe in a few days to text them. Text in a few days. So now Thursday, March 24th. Boom, everything you do well in the app, you get confetti for. So you get your confetti, come back here into my homepage. I can see here, I've used Kenneth again, but there you go. In here, right, text Kenneth Thursday. So now the app will actually give me a notification on Thursday. It'll ping me and say, hey, listen, you said you wanted to text Kenneth. Do you want to go ahead and do that now? So the reason I think that this is important is, let's say that we actually did what we're talking about here, which is sending 25 texts, right? Doing 5 and 5. If you've reached out to 25 new people in a week, me personally, I'd have no idea where I'm at with all those people. That's why you're setting the next steps as kind of helpful reminders for where you are within that conversation. I have an agent that I'm working with. He set over 1,800 next steps. He's what I'd call a power user. He's been on the app for a little over a year and a half. He attributes about 50 listings to it directly. And he swears by one method. This is what he does. He keeps it simple, he says. He opens this, he starts scrolling down. He asks himself one question, which is, who do I like? That's it, who do I like? And then he clicks on them, sends them a text, sets a next step for like a month out, and then just moves on with his day. He'll do that maybe 5-10 times a day, right? What I asked him for, well, one, I asked him, what do you do with the people you don't like? And he was like, delete. That's where the delete came from, actually. It's like, if you don't want to look at them, don't. Delete them from the phone. The other option you have is this bulk edit. So I can, top left, I can click bulk edit. I can check a couple people, right? And then scroll down and delete the contact, right? So if you're never going to reach out to them through the app, just delete them. You're deleting them from the app, not from your phone, right? So like you're not messing with your phone at all. Somebody asked me that once. Now, the other thing that he'll do is if it's a pain in the butt past client that he doesn't want to work with, he'll send it to somebody else for a referral, and he'll just note that. So like in here, I can make notes. The app will actually log a connection as well. So if you text or call or email through the app, it'll log that as a connection. And then you've got a note section here. What he ends up doing is he'll copy and paste a text every now and then into this note section. So he kind of has an idea of where he's at with that person. You can also type, but you can also click the little microphone and dictate. So you can like say whatever you want into here for notes. I had one agent that was like super excited about that. She hated typing. So that was a really nice feature for her. Past that, this is the biggest thing with the app that I think everyone gets hung up on, is that it like should be doing or does more. It's not a CRM. It was never designed as a CRM. So I just like to say that. Again, it's targeted outreach. It's, can you come in here? Can you scroll down slowly? Don't like spin it too fast and move past somebody that you should have reached out to. Can you delete the people that you don't want to talk to? And can you reach out to the people that you do? That's really the app. Now, I'm going to come back into the homepage. Are there any questions or anything? I know I'm a fast talker. Cool. You've got a couple other options of like stuff to do in the app. You got groups. So you can make any group that you want. Again, I don't think that you like come into the app and start organizing it. I think you come into the app and start doing outreach, and the groups will kind of naturally sort themselves out. There's a couple of default groups. Inflow and hot list are two of the default groups. The way that the app looks at this is it's a funnel, right? So like your 618 opportunities in this case is the top of the funnel. If I reach out to somebody and they respond and then we actually start talking real estate, I'd put them into inflow. If from there that conversation literally gets hotter, I'd move them into hot list. I recommend making an active sellers, active buyers group, because in my mind, that just finishes out the funnel, right? Like if you can get them into active sellers, great. If you can get them into active buyers as well, even better. And you can create any group you want. You just click this manage button, manage. On the bottom here, create new group, type in whatever group name you want. This is a new feature that just came out. You can set like a cadence reminder for the entire group to remind you to check in on that group, and then you go back out. Now, like I said, you can make any group that you want. So I had a guy, office that we were working with, not sure who they are. He was like, I don't know who these people are in my phone. I went, okay, let's make a group for that. So we did, we put a couple people in there. He had a 3-star contact in here that he could, for the life of him, could not remember who it was. So I said, what do you want to do? And he goes, well, you keep yelling at me to just do the outreach, do the outreach, do the outreach. So I guess I'll send him a text. And I went, okay. And he did. Ended up being a bartender that he met 5 years ago, right? Like sat down at a bar, exchanged phone numbers. They were having a good conversation, basically promptly forgot each other, right? Like, and lost touch. But about 12, 15 texts later, he's getting a listing out of that because the guy was looking for a realtor. So he was brave enough to just reach out. The other thing somebody pointed out is just because you don't remember them doesn't mean they don't remember you. So just, you know what I mean? It's always a good idea to at least send a text. Somebody I met at R4, she did this. She sent about 20 texts one day to her not sure who they are group, right? And the worst response she got back was this: who the hell are you? Right? And she said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm Philippa, I'm a realtor. I must have got your number confused with somebody else. Hope you're doing well. By the way, I am a realtor. Do you need any help, or do you know anybody that does? Right? So like the worst thing that happened was kind of a snarky text back. And the best thing she did, which was try to turn it around. I have no idea if that ended up going anywhere yet. But if the worst that's going to happen is that, I think like you're pretty safe. Okay, beyond groups, you got this, which is network efficiency. So the app will tie into your MLS. This is what I call a bonus feature. I have some agents that will just turn this off or not add their MLS because they don't want to see this. Because what it is it's your deals won versus your deals missed. So what that means is it's somebody in your phone that you want to deal with, or somebody in your phone that went with somebody else and you lost a deal with. I can click on that 38 and see the missed deals. Because I once had a guy come up to me and he goes, man, I really hate your app. And I go, okay, why? And he's like, I see all my missed deals, which made me think like, how many missed deals does he have? And are you working? But you can click on that. So I can click on that 38. I can see the missed deals, right? I can see who it is. And really the data isn't here to like punish you or make you feel bad. It's to be used as data. So it's to say to yourself, hey, this is a 3-star contact for 700K. What could I have done sooner to reach out to this person to put him in my deals won instead of my deals missed, right? I had another guy, he had about 30 missed deals. A bunch of them were past clients, so he's kind of upset. In his words, he swallowed some humble pie and he sent a card. He like wrote a, did a handwritten card to all of them just saying congrats. And one of them responded with, hey, we are so sorry we didn't go with you. We felt obligated to go with this other realtor. It was an awful experience. Now we know the difference between good and bad. Here's 2 referrals. We will never not use you again, right? So I think that that's like an important thought process behind the missed deals. Again, it's not there to punish you. It's there to be data to be used if you want. Okay. Any other questions on any of that? That's the home page. That's like the app in a nutshell. Again, we're coming in here and doing 5 and 5. If you remember nothing else from this, just do 5 and 5 once you get into your opportunities.
Frank, there's a question in the chat from Bibiana.
Yeah,
She wants to know more about the contacts and how to upload them.
sure. Gotcha. Okay, so a couple of things, Bibiana, when you download the app initially, it will ask you if you want to sync your phone contacts. If you say yes, it will automatically upload all of those contacts. Like Rick and I were talking earlier, you can upload a CSV. So if you are like working off of a CRM, Booz or something like that, you can export that to an Excel file and then you can upload it on Mac Center. And then the other last thing you can do in terms of adding contacts in is I'm going to click this account button. I can click account. I can scroll down to the bottom and then there's that add email account. Sorry, I clicked that a little fast, but add email account. So if you have like a second email or something that has a bunch of contacts in it, I have sobi16@hotmail.com from when I was 16, right? So like there's probably some people I know in there. You can add that in. I will say this, I think initially, the initial way to start with the app is your phone contacts, unless you're doing some like other game plan that you have. And the reason I say that is you don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much data. You want to start with kind of the warmest people you have, which are probably your phone contacts. Now, the other thing you can do is I'm going to click my 618 here. I'm going to come in here. Top left, I've got a sort button. So I can sort by distance, by alphabetically, by new, by last connected. The app on a daily basis, if you add like a new contact into your phone, the app will pull it through. So if I add somebody this afternoon, by tomorrow, they'll pull it through into the app and it'll give me the star rating if they're star rated. So I can sort by new. I think that that can be helpful. If I met you on Tuesday and we exchanged phone numbers, texting you on Wednesday might not be that crazy compared to texting that person I haven't talked to in 5 years. But you can click and then you can see your sort by news here. Again, if I've never reached out to somebody through text, like if it's a new person I've never reached out, you'll get these text templates, right? So you get a couple, the app will give you a couple ways to get started. I don't love all of them, to be honest. I didn't write them. This second one is probably the gentlest. Hey, Dave, it's been too long. I'd love to catch up. What does your week look like, right? This first one to me is funny. Hi, Dave, your name popped up in my database, a word I would never, ever, ever use to talk to anybody ever probably in my sales career. But I can click that. What's nice is it's still fully editable, right? So hi, Dave, your name popped up in my, I don't know, mind, might be a little bit better. And I wanted to check in with you. How's everything going? Market's been crazy, right? So you can go ahead and send that text. Again, click your next step. I'll say this because everyone always asks me, hey, what's the cadence that you use or that you suggest? I go back to definition of insanity, right? Like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If I've sent somebody 3 or 4 texts and they haven't responded, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to say, okay, cool. Maybe for my next step, I'm going to tell myself, hey, I got to call this person, or I got to actually email them, right? Or I'm going to pull in their social media and like Facebook message them or something like that, or check them out on LinkedIn. So for that next, like maybe after 2 or 3 texts, if they still haven't responded, and again, we know it can take up to 6 contact attempts to get a response from somebody. So don't be discouraged, just change it up. And you can set that in the next steps. You can say, all right, cool, I'm going to call them tomorrow, right? And add it that way. Pretty simple. And then you're seeing it right there on your app, which is kind of cool.
Rick had a question about contacts too.
Sure. Can I see it in the chat? Oh yeah. After you load your phone contacts, you can add a CSV later, correct? Yep. And does it allow uploading Google contacts? I'm not sure. Are the Google contacts like in by adding an email? Is that what you're asking, Rick? Sorry. Whenever you get a chance, Rick, come off mute.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that's what you're right. It would be the Gmail contacts, the adding in the emails. Yep. So I guess I would do the phone one first and then the CSVs that I have. And then, maybe do emails later on if I really want to inundate myself.
That's exactly it. And you said that word right there, inundate, because I hopped on a call with somebody who had like 25,000 contacts that had come through. And I was like, well, he was like crying at me. I was like, what have you done? He's like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, what have you done? And he's like, well, I added 5 different databases, 3 email addresses and everything else. And I was like, he just overwhelmed himself. Inundated is probably a good way to put it. So again, I always just suggest your phone contacts are probably the warmest you can get. Run through those first, however many stars that is, 50, 100, 200, 500, whatever it is. Like run through your phone contacts first, then you're getting comfortable with the app anyway, before you start plugging in potentially colder data anyway. For you, Rick, you're saying like you're trying to build out this database to use. So like if that makes the most sense for you, I get it. I still might just start with my phone contacts just to try it initially.
All right, thank you.
Of course. And then the other thing I was going to add while we're on this, so like on anybody's page, like we were saying, to put somebody into a group, I just click them. So if they go colored, they're in the group, I can take them out of the group that way too. So that's like easy grouping as you go. Again, I think the most important thing to do is to do the outreach, actually try to talk to somebody. Like that's the point of the app. It's just directing you who to talk to. The organizing, the everything else kind of comes as you go. Cool. The other thing I'll show you, I'm going to click account. So account down here on the bottom again. If I click that, come back up to the top, there's a couple things I like to point out. This is where you can add your MLS ID if you didn't do it while you like synced it initially. Notification setting, you'll either have this or it'll be like in your phone settings. But either way, you can add or decide how you want the app to actually interact with you. For those next steps, do you want it to buzz? Do you want it to ding? Is it going to show up as a banner, whatever it is? The other thing I will say is this. So a lot of people came up to me at our forum and was like, hey, I've had the app for 6 months and I don't know where to get started. Totally fine. I think we like covered that, the 5 and 5. But the other thing that we found is they had no idea where it was on their phone, right? So like the design of this app and the reason that it's on your phone is so that you can use it as a mobile app as you go throughout your day. Now let's talk about your day real quick. You wake up in the morning, email maybe, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, something like that, right? Might be too early to start texting people then, fine. But at some other point in the day, you're probably spending another 20 minutes on something else on your phone. The point I'm making is 80% of apps that get downloaded don't get used after 3 weeks. I'll prove it. I'm very guilty of this. This is 3 pages of apps that I have no idea what they are, right? So my suggestion is put the app where you would use it, right? I text all day, I WhatsApp some friends internationally, and I Slack for work, right? So put it here, which is where you would actually use it. And instead of hopping onto Facebook for 20 minutes, or maybe hop onto Facebook, look somebody up that you saw on first, that's how you're gonna like actually use the app during your routine, make it a routine. The last thing here is this export contact to CSV. So just like you can import a list in, you can actually export all the data that's in here out. And I'll give you a use case for this. I had an agent, she had 600 3-star contacts. And in her mind, she said, okay, that's 600 people that are 90% more likely to list. Not all of them will be good, but that's fine. I just want to reach out to them as quickly as possible. So she exported this to a CSV, plugged it into her CRM, and then she emailed a CMA to all of those 3-star contacts. Had a really high open rate, a really high response rate. And by the way, barely said anything. It was like, hey, this is your house. The number's higher than you thought. Do you want to talk, right? Like pretty simple. I shared this with another office. It was like a mother-daughter team on there. And she was like, great, I'm going to do that. And my daughter will send video CMAs to all of my starred contacts. So again, it's just however you want to use the data. I think the important thing is just doing the outreach. That's what it really boils down to. All right. Do I have any questions or anything? Checking chat. Cool. Just looking through. Okay, I got a question for you guys. Does it seem possible? Does coming in here and doing 5 and 5, like, does that seem doable? Rick, if you want to come off mute, because you're the only one that talked to me so far, I'll take an answer. And if anybody else wants to, that's fine too.
Well, I just know myself, and I'm not good at door knocking or cold calling or any of that stuff. So that's why I just have been working on this one database of my warmest people, and I planned on just loading those, and it's only a couple hundred people.
Right.
But if one of those pops up, any one of those 200, I would not hesitate to call or email or anything. You know, they're all very warm, very warm. And then that's why I thought I wouldn't be inundated, but first I would just have 200. If somebody pops up, that's a super hot lead instead of these people I would never reach out to. I just don't have the guts to do that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call.
That's
fair. So that's why I was going to just load the CSV first and see what happens. If I don't get a lot of business from it, then maybe add my phone contacts later. But so doing the 5 and 5, I don't know that I would do that unless, that's a tough one for me, because I have a hard time reaching out to people.
Right. And then Bibiana, you said reduce the number of contacts. I think it's a great opportunity. And that's exactly why we say 5 and 5, right? Like you're daily reducing, you can bulk edit and reduce them further, right? Like I had somebody come up to me at the booth at R4, we deleted 25 people in a minute and a half, right? She's like super excited because now she's got that 1,000 starred contacts down to, in her mind, a much more manageable, like 650. Right? But she's doing the outreach. She's doing the 5 and 5 a day now, right? People are responding to her. So she's getting back in touch and having a conversation. And that's really what the app was designed to do. So that's what I think the best thing about the app is just talking to people. Cool. Whatever way you want to get started is probably the way I would say start. You just want to do something and do some outreach. Sorry, did I cut somebody off?
That's okay. This is Kim. I have a question.
Sure.
So I have it took a long time to put all my contacts in like a Brian Buffini CRM. Could I pull, obviously I have phone contacts that are different, but can I take that CRM and input it into the app?
Yep.
As long as I put it into a CSV first.
Right. Yeah, you probably, I would assume, be able to just export that to a CSV pretty easily. And then in Max Center, like the file in Max Center,
right.
You're able to pull it in. You can import the CSV there.
Awesome.
And then cost is 60 days free if you've never downloaded it before, and then $465 a year. So like a little less than $40 a month. Was the other question I just saw. This, I think, previously, I think it's been confused or made more complicated or something like that. Again, I just come back to figure out something that you're comfortable saying and do the outreach. Rick, it's funny that you said that. I actually come from door to door. So like that was my first sales gig, was like knocking doors, business to business and residential. And I was scared. Like the first door I ever knocked on, I like pretended to knock on it. So then I was like afraid that somebody would come to the door. I think what you're trying to do here is determine what you feel comfortable saying. So whatever that is, that's what you say. And I think just the more sincere you can be about just trying to restart a relationship or a conversation with that person is just the important thing.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Does anyone have any other questions or anything? Was this helpful? I hope this was helpful, I guess. And if it was, Lindsay, if you guys want, we can circle back around. I always say, like, if we get enough people getting the app downloaded, I'm happy to run what I call a workshop, and I'll put the emphasis on work, which is where if you have the app downloaded, we can actually use it. I'll pull up my app, not the demo account, and I'll walk through how I know people, why I would or wouldn't send a text to somebody. And then we'll like send 5 texts together or something like that.
Yeah, that would be great. I think people would be interested in that. I'll reach out, and Rick is interested.
Okay. Rick, you just need me to get you going. So that sounds good. I'm actually going to be, I think there's something like up in Anaheim. I know that's actually kind of far away for you guys. End of this month. So next week I'll be out in Southern California. But I don't think we're getting all the way down to San Diego, unfortunately. But maybe first week or second week in April, something like that, might work for a workshop, and we can figure that out.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. If there's not any other questions, I'll stick my email in the chat. If you guys need anything, let me know. If not, we can circle back around, get the app downloaded. It can take up to 24 hours to sync. So don't do it like the day of, do it at least do it now. And then in a week or so, we'll be ready to do a workshop together. It also helps because then you'll have time to have played around with it and come up with any questions. And then we'll take it from there.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you,
guys very much.
Frank.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye.